Hello and welcome to the channel. With the removal of fuel subsidy by President Tinubu on Inauguration Day, Nigerians are still adjusting to the new realities as they grapple with increased petrol costs, which automatically had a ripple effect on basically everything: food items, transportation, and the general cost of living. But if this not the price Nigerians they pay for subsidy, what about the government? Waiting them won't give up. Subscribe, like, share, and comment. Thank you. As fuel subsidy goes, Nigerian government must cut cost of governance. President Bola Tinubu has picked a battle that many Nigerian leaders, military and civilian, in the past 30 years fought and lost in one way or another. At his inauguration on 29 May, Mr. Tinubu, 71, announced the total removal of fuel subsidy, saying the scheme has increasingly favored the rich more than the poor. He added that the subsidy could no longer justify its ever-increasing cost in the wake of drying resources. We shall instead rechannel the funds into better investment in public infrastructure, education, healthcare, and jobs that will materially improve the lives of millions, Mr. Tinubu said. Barely 2 days after the announcement, the state oil company NNPC Limited reviewed the pump price of petrol from 189 naira per litre to between 480 naira and 570 naira per litre, a more than 200% increase. The adjustment in petrol prices with market rates will promote competition and efficiency in the oil market and drop prices naturally, said Mele Kyari, the group chief executive officer of NNPCL. He said prices would continue to fluctuate to reflect market dynamics. Officially, there is a provision in the budget to subsidize fuel until the end of June, but Mr. Kyari said the government does not have the resources to effect that payment. The reality is that from today, the government can no longer afford to pay for fuel subsidies as a nation. Mr. Kyari said, noting that NNPC was owed 2.8 trillion naira in outstanding subsidy payments by the government. Fuel subsidy has been in place in Nigeria since the 1970s. It began with the government routinely selling petrol to Nigerians at below cost to minimize the impact of rising global oil prices on Nigerians. Following the promulgation of the Price Control Act in 1977, fuel subsidies became institutionalized, which made it illegal for some products, including petrol, to be sold above the regulated price. This law was introduced by the Olusegun Obasanjo military regime in order to cushion the effects of the global great inflation era of the 1970s, caused by a worldwide increase in energy prices. However, the cost of subsidizing petrol has ballooned over time, and riots have broken out merely over rumors of any increase in the past. In the 8 years of the Buhari administration, 2015 to 2023, subsidy payments gulped about 11.4 trillion naira. A breakdown of data from the civic tech group Budget shows that 316 billion naira was paid for subsidy in 2015. The figure dropped to 99 billion naira and 141.6 billion naira in 2016 and 2017 respectively. By 2018, a staggering 722 billion naira was paid for petrol subsidy. Then in 2019, the government spent 578 billion naira and 134 billion naira in 2020. The following year, 2021, the federal government appropriated 1.42 trillion naira for petrol subsidy and 4.3 trillion naira in 2022. In the 2023 budget, the Nigerian government budgeted 3.6 trillion naira for petrol subsidy for 6 months, ending in June. That's roughly 560 billion every month. These amounts are more than what the government spent on education, health, and infrastructure during the period under review. In the build-up to the 2023 general elections, fuel subsidy removal became one of the major issues in the campaigns. The three major presidential candidates promised to remove the subsidy. Mr. Tinubu of the All Progressives Congress (APC) won the presidential election in February with 37% of the votes. His main rivals, Atiku Abubakar of the PDP, who polled 29%, and Labour Party's Peter Obi, 25%, are challenging Mr. Tinubu's victory. All three men promised to remove the subsidy on petrol. While there seems to be an elite consensus on the inevitability of subsidy removal, the subsidy payments are popular with many ordinary Nigerians who regard them as a rare benefit of the country's oil wealth that otherwise bypasses them completely. In 2012, when former President Goodluck Jonathan attempted to remove fuel subsidy, the move was greeted by weeks of strikes, mass rallies, industrial and labor shutdowns, street protests, and several deaths, and numerous injuries as mobs confronted law enforcement agencies in major cities across the country. The protests brought the country to a standstill, forcing the government to lower the price and reintroduce the subsidy. President Tinubu's removal of fuel subsidy has inevitably raised the cost of living across the board and inflicted strain on the wider population. This newspaper reported how transport fares and prices of essential goods and services shot up significantly across the country last week as Nigerians grappled with the ripple effects of fuel subsidy removal. Subsidy removal must happen, but it requires tact, says Oluseun Onigbinde, the founder of Budget. You have to figure out how to handle food inflation, provide alternative means of transport, and ramp up social investment under a well-structured social investment program. It is almost certain the Nigerian government is not going back on the fuel subsidy removal policy. The government is asking Nigerians to be patient and endure the current hardship, promising that resources saved from the policy will be channeled to developmental programs. However, the government has kept mum on what its officials would sacrifice. Many Nigerians want the government to curb excesses like the outrageous allowances of federal lawmakers, selling of several planes in the presidential fleet, reducing the number of cars in the convoy of government officials, and proning wasteful government expenditures and inflated budgets that are not grounded in reality. You can't remove subsidy without offering to reduce the waste in government. Budget, Mr. Onigbinde said. You can't be living large while the citizens bear the higher cost of living. You are the leader, you show example, and earn trust. That's the news, guys. Thanks for listening. Until next time, bye.